You're looking good, and it feels good to be with you today. Hello, I'm Kendall Bryan Hunter, author of this book, Consider My Servant Job, available for, well, this is February. You get Valentine's Day, President's Day, Groundhog Day. What else is going on today? Yeah, those holidays. Those are three holidays in 1 month, plus plenty of mattress sales. Good reason to buy my book, whatever holiday it is. And this is News with the Eyes of Faith, where I talk about news from the perspective of Christ and from the point of view of the doctrine of Jesus Christ. I do this very simple, bare bones, just you, me, and the truth. I do not have an entry, don't have a theme song. I do not sell bobbleheads. No reason to do anything like that. And this is my I voted Constitution, where I'd review this before I vote. Well, the big news item is USAID. That Elon Musk has been sort of digging around the cellar. I'm doing a little ascot thing. What was a guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Lauren, who always had the ascots? I think it was just more of a costuming issue because you'd put the green makeup on and you wouldn't have to worry about his neck. There's probably I bet this is going to fall off during the process of the podcast. So USAID. Now was Elon Musk dug it up. And there's this guy named Mike Benz. Now, it's not Pence, the vice president, but Benz. And he's been on Tucker Carlson, and Scott Adams has been posting some of his things. And I put a link to the Tucker Carlson issue, where apparently what this organization was, for lack of a better term, a money laundering organization, where government would reach into your pocket, take your paycheck, and then just throw your money at other people. Now, we'd use this to influence other countries. It's sort of the more of upfront as opposed to what you do with the CIA, buying, influencing, shaping culture in other countries. Remember Rush Limbaugh's undeniable truth, number 25, follow the money. When people say it's not the money, it's always the money. It's fun reviewing that. You reviewed his undeniable truths. Have you written your own truths? This reminds us of Black Lives Matter. Sir Major Page, 35, of Toledo, has been sentenced to 42 months in prison by the U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Helmick after a jury convicted him of wire fraud and money laundering for defrauding donors of more than $450,000 they collectively gave to his nonprofit Black Lives Matter of Greater Atlanta. Based on Page's false representations, he's also ordered to pay a $400 special assessment fee. And you thought this was to keep the legacy of George Floyd alive? That's why the deficit's ballooned. Remember, they're reaching to your pocket, taking your paycheck, and throwing it at these other groups. And Musk caught that. And you got issues with that? You have issues with that? And okay, we're just coming from two different points of view. Another question: have we lost our democracy yet? That's an accusation. You need to make it something that's objective, quantifiable, and falsifiable. A meaningful accusation versus these pie-mouth pot shots that you're getting. It's just a slogan that people chant. Now, you remember there's that quote from Sigmund Freud, and it's his essay on narcissism, where you have omniscience of thought and thaumaturgy of words. People think you can just chant things into existence. You keep repeating it. In a certain sense, there are certain minds that do operate that way. If you just keep repeating things, Trump is a fascist, Orange Hitler, Trump is it goes on. But we will lose our democracy. But it hasn't happened. We're actually getting the exact opposite of that. We're becoming more free. We're just, Musk has lifted the lid off the garbage can. He's saying, look, here's all the maggots. And people have problems with that. The stuck pig squeal. Trump. Now, you notice that every day is a masterclass in leadership. Trump solves the Gaza situation or has a proposed solution. U.S. control over it, and we just build it up like Dubai or United Arab Emirates. That's a solution. Abraham Accord. This is Abraham Accords Part 2. People still call him antisemitic and Orange Hitler for some reason. But there's been some objection, some pushback. But I want you to think about this. There's idea that you start with a bad idea, and the bad idea gets you to the good idea. This is a negotiating position where he throws this out here. Look, we're going to do this. What's your solution? Can you come up with a better one? It's like with James Madison at the Constitutional Convention. He had a game plan and he won, and we're better for it. Army recruitment is up because we're not going to get into these endless wars. I respect. Well, here I won't say that. Rubio has passed in Panama. Put pressure on the Panamanians to let the Chinese contracts expire. So he didn't have to invade the country. The threat of it worked. Read the Federalist Papers. Is that they make the point is that the president needs to have an infinite power for capacity to wage war, and nothing can stop that because that's how you protect yourself. Pacifists have the free rider problem. They're free riders on the people. The people in the military. The guys in SEAL team. Yeah, the pacifists depend upon people like this, the real people who protect them and keep them safe. So yeah, pacifist is a code word for free rider. Foreign relations. This is why one of the differences between the left and the right. Now, remember I talked about feelings, fairness, and friends. And this is about fairness. The egalitarianism is that countries are not the same. Paul Harvey used to say that it's not one world, and that kind of bugs people. You believe in egalitarianism, you think that all countries are the same, and they're not. You just have to travel there. Certain alphabets work better than other ones. Do your taxes in Roman numerals, you see what I'm talking about. And what happens is that, of course, you love your neighbors, but you don't let yourself being taken advantage of. And a lot of what this DOGE is coming out with USAID is people milking us. Like I said, taking your paycheck, the money that you want to spend on education or your Christmas presents to your children, taking that and giving to other countries for LGBTQ issues is what a lot of it was. And let's put a stop to that. This is what Elon Musk posts on X. X. We finally got our free speech back. In the past 6 days, the number of lease terminations of underutilized buildings has increased from 3 to 22, with the savings increase from 1.6 million to 44.6 million. Through 1/29/2025, 85 DEIA-related contracts totaling approximately $1 billion have been terminated with the Department of Education, GSA, OPM, EPA, DOL, Treasury, DOD, USDA, Commerce, DHS, VA, HHS, State, NFR, NRC, and LRB, PG. GC, USAID there, RRB, SSA, SBA, BLM, CP, BRB, MPS, and NOAA, and that's the expression of alphabet organizations. 3, DOGE is saving the federal government approximately $1 billion a day, mostly from stopping from hiring people in unnecessary positions, deletions of DEI, and stopping improper payments to foreign organizations, all consistent with President's executive order. It's interesting, to the national debt clock, they've added a DOGE clock and how much is being saved. Just amazing. It was always there. We could have done it anytime you wanted. Finally, you had a grown-up walk in there, and I'll tell you, I voted in the first primary. I voted for Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina because I was well aware of Trump's negatives. So if you criticize him, yes, I know it was enough of an issue that I voted against him. Voted for him, just voted for the past 3 times, and it's interesting. This is the sequel is better than the first time around. It's amazing the amount of stuff he's cutting, and it's just could be easily cut. People just don't want to do it. Just think about this. People's mind viruses are holding them back from doing the right thing. Tariffs. We've been having this tariff wars are on hold. I can't tell what's going on. They're off, they're on again. People go into Chicken Little mode, drama queens with their panic attacks. The sky has fallen. Well, in the Federalist Papers, that's how we were supposed to fund the federal government. The federal government was supposed to be really tiny, and states were supposed to do be the workhorses, the draft horses, or the Budweiser horses to pull things. What is this? What is this? What is the Super Bowl you speak of? 12th Federal. In America, it is evident that we must a long time depend for the means of revenue chiefly upon such duties. In most parts of it, exercises must be confined within a narrow compass. The genius of the people will ill brook the inquisitive and peremptory spirit of excise laws. The pocket of the farmers, on the other hand, will reluctantly yield but scanty supplies in the unwelcome shape of impositions on their houses and lands. And personal property is too precious and invisible a fund to be laid hold of any other way by the imperceptible agency of taxes on consumption. 21. Imposts, excises, in general, all duties upon the articles of consumption may be compared to a fluid, which will in time find its level with the means of paying them. The amount to be contributed by each citizen will in a degree be at his own option and can be regulated by an attention to his resources. The rich may be extravagant, the poor can be frugal. Federalists 12 and 21 both written by Alexander Hamilton. I have a degree in political, or I minored in political science, so I was into Alexander Hamilton long before the musical. Border wars. Mexico border, you see the protesters and they're waving Mexican flags. That's all you need to know. Of course, we always have disputed land. I'm from California, Mexifornia. There's actually a book called that. So that's sort of a question about cosmic justice. Thomas Sowell wrote a book called Cosmic Justice. I recommend reading it. It's a small book. I think it's about 4 chapters long, very densely written. But there's just so much we cannot fix. And you just have to accept some things about the way the borders work nowadays. This whole border war is no different than what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, people fighting over old borders. So I got my old glasses on to kind of slip around a bit there. Confuseocracy. Never confuse legal immigration with illegal immigration. And pay attention in your discussions and debate. If there's a shift, you start talking about illegal immigration, then they shift to talk about legal immigration. The left loves immigrants except Elon Musk and Melania Trump. Well, both of Trump's, 2 of 3 Trump's 3 wives are immigrants. For some reason, Trump's into Czechoslovakian supermodels, so to each his own. DNC elected new officers. Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party Chairman Keith Martin. Now, it's interesting. What we call the Democratic Party in Minnesota, it's called the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. It has, how in Louisiana they don't have counties, they have parishes. It's sort of a historical thing, and it just goes by the different name. But Ken Martin, here's the losers. Faziz Shakir received 2 votes. Jason Paul received 1 vote, and there are no votes for Nate Snyder, Quintessa Hathaway, or Marianne Wilmanson. Wow, it looks like the Democrats are abandoning DEI. Faziz Shakir and the ladies, none of them got it. But the white man got it. Kind of like the white man Joe Biden and the white man Gavin Newsom. Confuseocracy. Yeah, we need a DEI, but we're just voting for white men. Confuseocracy. Chairs Ken Martin, the vice chair for civic engagement and voter participation is Raina Walters Morgan, hyphenated last name. Well, there we go. There we have a lady. Vice chair. We have 3 vice chairs. So actually 4. That's a vice chair for civic, and they have 3 vice chairs. Artie Blanco, Malcolm Kenyatta, and then David Hogg. Now, David Hogg, I think he was a victim of Sandy Hook, so you understand why he's an anti-gun activist. Okay, someone shoots you, yeah, of course you're going to be. It's understandable. And they are nurturing talent, and that brings us to our question: where's our up and coming talent? Trump cannot run for president again. Who's the next president? Who are we preparing? Treasurer Virginia McGregor, National Finance Chair Chris Corge. So check their check boxes against ours. And remember, they're the one hooting and hollering about DEI and taking your paycheck and giving to these other organizations, wire fraud. Okay, mountain in New Zealand, which indigenous people consider an ancestor, so it's a holy mountain. I think the indigenous people would be the Maori, has been granted legal personhood through a new law that gives us the same rights and obligations as a human being. Now, understand, this is a cultural thing. It's a religious thing where you give a sacred mountain. And, in Christianity, and Judaism, you have Mount Sinai. You have Mecca and Islam. So we understand sacred spaces. In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that's how we consider temples are sacred, but we don't grant them legal personhood. You're reading the Miranda rights to a mountain is really what you're doing. Mountains have, in New Zealand, this mountain has more rights than a fetus. Just think about that. And think about when you're trying to debate someone where they believe it's okay for a mountain to have more rights than a fetus. Here's a little bit thing. This is a little bit more lighter. This is sort of the Andy Rooney segment where I want to get off this heavy news. I mean, it just feels great to have all the success, and that when you voted for Trump, you're part of it. And I started as a critic of Trump, so I'm not blind to his shortcomings. But it just feels good to see energy, and just every day is a new MBA in how to be a leader. So here's some good news. Danish National Symphony and His Royal Majesty's Royal Marines. They got some good stuff on YouTube. Go to YouTube and watch these people. Danish National Symphony, the theme, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's kind of funny to see it played out. The Royal Marines, they have these young guy and a young gal who are really good singers, and go watch them. They're getting some energy there, and it's just very entertaining. They have this one where they do Elton John stuff, and I haven't seen them do the Beatles yet, which is unusual for a British group not to do their number one band. But it's relax, enjoy yourself, sit back. This is pristine water. Cheers to the Danes, and cheers to the Royal Marines. I salute you, and meet me in person. I'll give you a copy of the Declaration of Independence. Anyone from the UK, I'll give you one of these things for free. Another thing to think about is, as we're defending ourselves, this is intellectual ammunition, logical lesson. There's basic errors in reasoning. They're called fallacies. Now, we use it sort of a general term when saying someone's making a dumb argument, but it's actually a more precise term. And I recommend this book, and I'm going to start teaching from this, called Questions That Matter, an invitation to philosophy. Make sure it's the shorter edition if you get a copy of it. So make sure it looks like this. Now, this is the textbook I used when I went to BYU. So this is the BYU approved philosophy textbook that I read. And don't fear philosophy. It's just bad philosophy. So here's the 3 laws of thought: the law of non-contradiction, the law of excluded middle, the law of identity. You gotta have it memorized. That'll get your brain functioning properly. That's where, when you're talking with someone, where the breakdown comes in. Like the law of non-contradiction, people want to have it both ways. Law of non-contradiction is this. This is simple. You go along and you see your friend from college, and he's holding hands with a gal, and that's his wife. And you say, "Hey, I heard you're pregnant." The husband says, "No, we're not." And the wife says, "Yes, we are." That's the law of non-contradiction. So, here, it's a little bit shorter than the last one because I didn't read Rush Limbaugh's Truths again. But yeah, review it, make up your own rules. But I just want to here's 2 concluding things. I got a ride with a friend of mine who was staunchly Democrat, and he had this large homemade sign. Actually, when he bought, this wasn't a campaign poster. We went to a place and bought it for Biden Harris out on his front lawn. So you grant him space. This is a free country. Yeah. Remember this, like I said, you can't see it because the Declaration of Independence, this is by the American Legion. I grab this copy. See, there's only 27 amendments. They don't have that 28th ERA amendment that confused Grandpa was confused about. But get a copy. This is the American Legion. Get it off their site or eBay. Throw in some extra money. They're a good organization. But of course, he was distraught, and he's one of these high priests that didn't quite make the transition to elders and high priest. He's been a bishop and on the high council, and he's starting to see things differently as a son who's LGBTQ, and he offered me a ride, and we talked. I mentioned a little bit about global warming, and so he got out and he expressed his concerns. Now, when you have a deep friend like that, don't argue with them. Just let them talk, because you're hearing their point of view. That's one of Stephen Covey's 7 habits. Seek first to understand, then be understood. It's not efficient, but it's effective. And that's why it's Stephen Covey's called the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, not efficient people. You're efficient with machines. You're effective with people. Let them talk. And I saw this other post from a friend of mine from middle school and high school, and it's interesting. She's white, redheaded, and her husband is Asian. So you see her name, Ryan Chung, and then you see this white redhead woman. Oh, that's kind of the fun thing. It's okay you can laugh at that without being racist, but she was expressing her point of view, and it was interesting. She began to talk about how she went to a demonstration, and she began to introduce herself as a white, cisgendered with privilege, and it was kind of funny how she began that, because she was just getting some post-it notes and just tapping here's a post-it note. I'm white, I'm cisgendered, I have privilege, and for some reason began this protest by pasting all these post-it notes to her forehead, labeling herself for some reason. I was kind of curious why someone would feel the need to do that. What psychological need is being met when you do that? You say, I'm a person, this is how I see things. Well, all those things are expressions of guilt. I'm white, I feel guilty. I have privilege, I feel guilty. I'm heterosexual, I feel guilty. I don't have fertility issues, I have children, I feel guilty about that. Back 20 years ago, I heard this sermon by I don't know what you'd call him, a pastor or radio minister, but his name was Ronald Dart. Ronald Dart was called Guilty or Grateful. That was one of those mind-shaking sermons. And her issue, or at least as I see things, is that she's feeling guilty, but she wasn't feeling grateful. He said, okay, you were born in this country. I lived for 2 years in Portugal, so I saw how different things work. And saw how there is a life different from ours. I am grateful. I saw 2 microwave ovens my entire mission. 2 microwave ovens my entire mission. One was in the mission home. The other one was in a family in the city of Beja. Express gratitude. Guilt. That's how people control you, is by making you feel guilty. That's just a thumb screw. You need to confess your sins from being the sin of being white, the sin of being privileged. It's guilty manipulation. Then my friend had another post on Instagram about another 50 protests in 50 days. Go to the state capitol, and sit there with your megaphone, kind of like Al Sharpton. The first thing was like they're against concentration camps. Okay, who's for concentration camps? Once again, that's a confusocracy in play. Elon Musk eliminating government waste. Of course, Elon Musk is not going to build concentration camps as you're cutting back. No one is. That's a baseless accusation. It's like when you read Hitler's speech, I'm sorry, Godwin's Law, how he'd sit there and he'd accuse Churchill and Roosevelt of starting World War II. No one's doing that. Confusocracy, so don't fall for it. So here's a conclusion. We're at 22 minutes. We have absolutely perfect knowledge of what happens when the radicalized left gets in control. We saw it, the censorship, the harassment, the deplatforming, the debanking, abortion, euthanasia, and puberty blockers. We know what happens. We saw it. And I hope this terror that you experienced for the last 4 years motivates you to get your Bachelor of Arts, get your college degree, get your degree in political science, to read the Declaration of Independence. So you're not ignorant, in the Federalist Papers, that you're an informed citizen. You know, listen to a podcast from the other side to make some comparison. Get that law degree that you've been putting off. Volunteer, run for office, start your own podcast. Add your voice so we can normalize this stuff. The more voices, it gives us a sense of normalcy. Always be shrewd in your political dealings. Always have charity, because we know what happens when you don't. Your president is, where's some ice cream? And that, my friends, is news with the eyes of faith.